This might be one of the only times I get to tell my story in such detail. Consider it the story of a woman who came to terms with all of her feelings. Big, dark, illogical, out of control. All of her mistakes, all of her imperfections. A woman who decided she is worthy of love even when the world tells her otherwise, and how that decision has carried me through the darkest nights, and still does. Because true self-love is not something you gain overnight, once and for all. It's a constant process of reminding yourself that it's okay not to abandon yourself. Maybe you are in a place where it's time for you to experience a profound sense of self-love too. Maybe this episode will encourage you to do that. I'm a clinical psychologist, but today I'll share my story as a woman. Thank you for watching. Let's begin. I know I give the impression of someone who has all the answers. I am 52 years old, a mom of 4 children, and I've been married for 28 years. At this point, almost all of my dreams have come true. The truth is, I have some of the answers, but even at this stage of life, there's a little girl in me. The one who sometimes doesn't know what to do. The one who sometimes gets buried in memories, full of pain. The one I had to mother myself because no one could see her for who she is. When podcast hosts ask me, "How did you get here?" I smile. How deep should I go in my answer? Should I tell them the story of how I had to find my way when my dad left and moved just 3 miles down the street and stopped acknowledging my existence? Should I tell them how I survived when my mom couldn't handle my sadness and I was sent to my room to cry it out? Later, that unprocessed pain turned into somatic pain, and that no one could cure. Should I tell them how at the age of 16, I found myself practically homeless, working 3 jobs, unsure who would care if my car broke down on a dark road at night? Or should I tell them how I discovered what a psychologist is and promised to become one, so that no one would have to endure pain alone? What I should probably tell you about is the driving force behind every single experience. A divine test that could have destroyed me, but instead brought me to where I stand today, certain of my worth, with a heart full of love and gratitude, committed to helping as many women as possible. The suffering of most women in the world comes from 2 places: unfortunate circumstances and a lack of self-worth. It's true, most of us don't have an easy start in life. But if there's even a sliver of control you can take over your own circumstances and change something, you won't be able to do it without realizing you're worthy of a better outcome. Like many women, I didn't have anyone to teach me about self-worth. I didn't have anyone to show me what integrated self-love looks like. And probably, like you, I found myself in countless situations where the world told me why I should stay quiet, why my dreams didn't matter, and why my opinions were inconvenient, and why I should be pleasing and submissive. What was that force in me? That little girl that knew that they were all wrong? What was that conviction that saw the smallness in the minds that were trying to diminish me? What was that power in my young heart that connected the suffering of those I loved with their inability to see themselves as good and worthy? I knew I was good. One thing I never questioned was my heart. I never questioned my intentions, what I stand for, or what I'm meant to do in this world. Even when facing bullies or friends and family members who didn't believe in me, I always thought, they're so wrong. My heart knows the truth. And that's how I mothered myself. I mothered myself by speaking with the love and understanding I never experienced in real life. I understood that the cycle of diminishment and tearing down had to end with me. It was hard because most of the time, the world wasn't reflecting back that I should love myself. But if I wanted to stand for something, It was the creation of a world where we protect each other, lift each other up, and never leave anyone alone in their pain. But that starts with just one person's sense of self-worth. Because your self-worth will call someone else higher. What if traditional psychology focused on teaching women about self-worth? I spent 9 years in higher education, and not a single class on self-worth was offered. Could this be why so many women feel that therapy can't help them? I left private practice because my desire to equip women with once saved my life was never taken seriously in traditional psychology. We live in a world of critique and judgment. The most criticized object on earth is a woman's body. Old-fashioned child-rearing methods often involve punishment and comparison. Many women adopt the strategy of pleasing others and doing what's expected of them. They cut off parts of themselves that don't fit others' expectations, and eventually, they feel numb, dissatisfied, and lost. How many of you growing up were told that your leadership is sacred? That your intuition should be trusted? That your value lies in your wisdom and the depth of your heart's love? I never heard those things, but I sensed them. I don't know why or how, but I was born with a deep knowing that there had to be a different way to exist as a woman. As a young girl, I didn't think about society's norms or expectations for men and women, but I learned. I learned from my family. When we could afford only one after-school activity, it was always his, because he was a boy. When he was allowed to play outside, I had to clean and cook, because that's what women do. I learned from the world around me. I played by the rules for a while, but quickly realized they led to the death of my soul. Nothing in this system, in this order, in this setup truly sees me. There was no space for my soul, no space for my passion, my hunger, my desire. I was expected to be a function, and my worth depended on how well I performed that function. Is that true? Do I want to believe that my worth comes from how well I cook and clean? Do I believe my worth comes from being pleasing and quiet? Do I believe I have to kill the leader inside of me to fit in? I was never afraid of the deepest, darkest emotions in others. I was never threatened by the intensity of someone else's feelings. I was never inconvenienced by another's humanity because I wasn't willing to abandon my own. From a young age, I wanted to help people. I helped patients in Alzheimer's units. I counseled those with AIDS on the brink of death, and I cared for children in group homes. What I saw was that the existing system dehumanizes people in despair, forcing them through a standardized journey with little room for nuances. Why? Because we've been taught that nuances are inconvenient, that pain is too much, that drama is too much. Does that sound familiar? Where else do we hear that pain and drama are too much? Where else do we experience life with no room for nuance? That's right, within our families as women. An average woman's life consists of expectations and a standardization that imposes invisible limits in fear of losing love. But what happens when a woman says, I don't need your love to survive? The only love my life truly depends on is my own. She becomes free. Would such a woman stay in a bad relationship? Would such a woman tolerate abuse? Would such a woman accept that this is the best life has to offer? Hell no. Such a woman wakes up and calls everyone around her to rise. Such a woman creates a world that values nuance. Such a woman pursues her dreams because she mothered herself and her inner mother assured her she is worthy and loved. Such a woman won't tear anyone down. She won't fear other women. And she won't live in survival mode. Exiting survival mode is a game changer for your nervous system. My life changed when I decided never to question my worth. That decision saved my marriage because I no longer depended on my husband to provide it. That certainty gave me the confidence to share my message on social media. That certainty allowed me to help thousands of women around the world. The more women claim their self-worth, the better. Because it's the only way to create a safe world where we are seen as more than functions or objects, where our daughters don't have to poison their faces to stay appealing, where we have the confidence to build a new, better world with our talents and our ideas. If you get quiet and listen fearlessly, you will hear that same voice inside of yourself. You will hear that your worth has never changed, and that even now, especially now, you can and should create a life that makes you feel fully alive. The little girl inside of you needs a mother she never had. Will you listen to that voice?